Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Animation Success Stories podcast, or the ASS podcast, as we call it tongue-in-cheek. My name's Anthony. I'm here with my co-hosts,
Sabrina,
Nick.
And Nick's filling in for Brian today. Brian's off doing some Brian-y stuff.
Cool
so
things.
Nick's going to hang out with us. He's usually behind the camera. Today, we're just hoping things don't malfunction. No one's back there, and Nick's just going to hang out here with us. So there's Nick. Yeah. Today, we're going to be interviewing the amazing Amanda Lee. She is a background artist, background concept artist as well, environment artist. She worked on Samurai Jack, and right now she's working on some really cool stuff that I don't know if I can mention or not. But we're going to talk to her right after this.
and we're back.
Oh, we're back.
And we're back, guys. Hi, everyone. Like I said a minute ago, today in the ASS is Amanda Lee. Hi, Amanda. How's it going?
Hello.
Yeah. Try not to pull a Sabrina, and let's try to use the mics, I guess. It's my impression of Sabrina.
Hi.
Okay, so today in the ASS is Amanda Lee. She's a background artist. We're going to learn all about her in a second. Where she came from, how she got to where she is. In case you've never listened to this podcast before, what we try to do here is we attempt to find these industry professionals and what their stories are and how they got started in the industry, the obstacles that they kind of had to face as they were getting to where they are, and how they ended up as a success story, thus the name Animation Success Story. So hopefully we're going to find that out about Amanda today. So first off, how's it going, Amanda?
It's going very well.
Awesome.
Very happy to be here.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Pretty amazing.
Thank you.
So we'll start off this podcast like we start off most podcasts, I believe. I don't know. I'm not keeping track of this stuff.
I know the first question you ask.
What's the first question I ask?
The first question you ask everyone is, what got you into animation?
Yeah, so,
what drew you towards animation?
I always
No
ask
pun
that
intended.
in
Just
some
kidding.
form or one or another. So what did get you into animation? What interested you, and how did you actually come to want to work in animation?
Well, I don't think I ever knew that animation was a viable job that you could do. So I always drew my entire life, but nobody ever told me that it could be a job. And I would watch all these like animated movies, and I had no idea. So it never actually crossed my mind that I could work in the industry. And
That's pretty cool.
It didn't take. I think I like went through all of college, and like I kind of understood that somebody did the job, but I didn't think anybody like it was really tough to get in or something.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until after I had graduated college and then also started working in the field of architecture that I started meeting other people who were in the industry.
Oh, cool.
And then they told me about it, and then it became like a reality that, hey, maybe this is something that you could do.
Interest. So it was more along the lines of you met people that were in it already, and you're like, oh shit, I can do this.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So let's go back for a second. And you said you were kind of growing up, you were watching all these animated films, and you weren't really realizing it was as a profession as much as just something you enjoyed. Mm-hmm. Was there any of these films that really stood out to you that made you passionate about like animation in general? Any maybe Disney films or whatever?
Well, one instance I do remember is when Toy Story came out. And it was
nice.
like one of the big first CG movies I'd seen, and I had never seen anything like that. And I just remember watching that movie, like 3-4 times like each week.
Yeah.
Just because it was so amazing. And even though I didn't know that it was a job, I just thought like that movie was so great, and it would be so cool to do that one day,
Not really knowing what that was,
Yeah,
but just
like-
I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to
Just
do,
so
but I want to be
cool,
part of that.
yeah.
Cool. And that probably came out, 93? No, 98? What's Toy Story?
95 maybe? 95?
I don't know. Whatever it was, sometime in the mid-90s.
I was born, so.
But
So you-
before that,
yeah.
I had always watched, tons of cartoons too, as a child.
Cool. Pretty interesting. And as you said, you drew all the time growing up. So that was something that you were always. Did you always excel at it, or did you have to kind of work towards it?
When I was a kid, I remember being okay at it, but I didn't even start excelling at it until like much later. When I remember like I think what really got me into it and getting interested into it was that I accidentally won an art competition.
Ooh, accidentally.
Yeah, like we had this assignment where we had to draw something that we enjoyed doing, and at the time I was really into gymnastics. So I did myself doing like a back bend, but it ended up turning out looking like I was reading a book, and the teacher came out and was like, "Oh, I really love reading books too." And she submitted it. And I was like, "Yeah, totally." And she submitted it to like a whatever competition, and I won a whole box of art supplies.
Oh, nice.
And that was like the first time I got like validation for like, oh, if you do good art, you could get stuff.
That's pretty cool. Do you still have this drawing?
Don't.
Your backbend slash
That's such a dog way of thinking.
I was just like, oh, rewards.
Yeah.
So keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's literally like
that's
how
really
I really
cool.
got involved into it.
So that was kind of the spark, the ignition that kind of set you forth. You're like, oh crap, I can.
So
I can
I
get
have a
stuff
question.
from this. That's great.
This leads up to your college education. What got you into architecture specifically? Like, what got you into drawing buildings?
Yeah. Well, so I've always done art, and like art class was always my favorite. And when senior year came and you had to decide what you wanted to do, I actually considered going to art school. And my parents were like, no, that's not a good idea. That's not a real profession. I don't, so it kind of discouraged me a little bit from doing it. So architecture was actually sort of like the in-between. Like I felt like I could be creative and be an artist, but also, I was pretty good at math and, sort of technical stuff. So I was like, oh, combining those would be great. So that's how I started getting into architecture.
Interesting.
Okay.
So that was something that you weren't exactly passionate about? Or was just something that you kind of found a happy medium?
Particularly enjoyed drawing buildings.
Oh, yeah?
Do you have a favorite building?
Do I have a favorite building? I really love Louis Kahn's work. My favorite, maybe the Beneke Library.
We can all pretend we know it.
Oh, yeah.
I know, we're like, yeah.
You can look it up. It's really beautiful. It's
We'll
like
insert a
concrete.
picture here.
Is that in Princeton, New Jersey?
Yeah, it's in Princeton,
New Jersey.
like the university.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's this beautiful concrete building, and it houses these like old documents, and then they have. So you can't have light go in, but so they put these really thin pieces of marble, so the light still shines through the marble when you're inside. It's really beautiful.
Ooh.
There was a bit of passion working in architecture.
Yes,
You
I
like
love
buildings.
I love the field of architecture. Yeah, I do.
Oh, cool.
You
But-
grew to
I grew to
appreciate
love
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask, where are you from?
So I'm from Pennsylvania.
Cool.
My hometown is Philly, but I grew up in Wyoming.
Oh, interesting. Philly to Wyoming. Wyoming, that's a
Wyoming,
big...
yeah.
What brought you out to Wyoming?
Well, my parents studied at the University of Wyoming, so
Okay.
that's why I grew up there. And then eventually we moved to Philly.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Just something we often talk about. Awesome. How did you end up in LA? For work?
Yeah, for work. So I was working after college. I graduated, and then I moved to Pittsburgh for about 2 years, and I was working as an architect. And then I had met Eric Canetti. I don't know if any of you guys know who that is, but he's a comic book artist. Very, very good comic book artist.
Cool.
And like designer and everything too. He's really amazing. But
Nice.
he sort of helped me figure out that, like you could totally work in animation. And then I decided that I would just move to LA and
From Pittsburgh.
yeah.
So you met Eric in Pittsburgh.
Well, no, Eric, I met online actually.
Oh,
We
okay,
did like
cool.
we did like an art swap or something
Oh,
like that.
cool.
You know, like artists kind of
Yeah.
do that
It
sometimes.
just dawned on me. This is that guy that has like amazing.
He's
Okay.
amazing artwork.
Yes.
You should check him out online.
Yeah.
Can you say his name one more time?
We should get him on
It's-
here at some point.
Yeah, he's really good. Eric Canetti.
Eric Canetti. Check him out.
Artwork is.
Yeah.
They
It's
probably
really great.
already know who he is. Sorry, they probably already know.
Yeah, I think,
You and your mic.
he's working at Riot Games right now.
Riot Games. That's really
He's
cool.
really good.
And also, I want to backtrack for a second and just say that you said that you met Eric online during an art swap, and I think that's really good advice to people that are kind of trying to get in the industry right now, or like on the fringes of the industry.
I never thought of that.
I have a handful of friends that actually met other people in the industry from online art communities, and that's one way that you can kind of get your foot dipped into the animation industry
or
if you're
even
looking
just
for that.
as a resource for information, and that was what Eric was for me, like really up in the beginning, because I had no idea about anything in the animation field, and he helped explain like there's the different jobs and how things work, and then it became a reality.
So he convinced you just to up and
Well,
leave,
not that he
come to
convinced
LA.
me, but like once it became like a reality, then I felt like more comfortable that, hey, I could like maybe move to LA and do this. So I bought a one-way ticket.
That's
told
awesome.
my parents that I was gonna leave. They thought I was
Yay.
crazy.
I love stories like that. I think it's great.
And
So
then
brave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I moved to LA, and I was actually unemployed for a while because I didn't really have a portfolio that was in animation or anything.
So
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so when you came out here, you said you bought a one-way ticket. That's incredibly ballsy. That's awesome. So did you have a job? Did you have any job lined up or anything like anything?
She
not even
just said
outside
she's
the animation
unemployed
world?
for a while.
I was really stupidly confident.
That's all. That's great. I mean, sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'll come out here and I'll get a job in like a month or two.
Yeah.
Really, it was like 8 months.
Right? That's still
That's
not
less
that bad.
than a year.
Yeah. It was like probably 8 or 9 months I was unemployed, and the whole time I was basically, I was taking classes at CDA, and bulking up my portfolio, and then just trying to meet people.
Cool.
in the industry.
Can you for 1 second, can you describe CDA for the viewers?
Yes,
'Cause it's
they
a
are wonderful. It's Concept Design Academy. It's run by a guy named Kevin Chen, and he gets other professionals who are working in the industry, and they come in and teach classes at night.
Or on the weekends, too.
Or on the weekends, yeah. And they're usually 10-week courses, like one class per week for 10 weeks.
And they're fairly cheap. Like, they're not super expensive if you sign up for their waiting list. Not waiting list, student list.
Yeah, I think they're a great alternative to. So for a while, I had thought like, oh, I'll go back to grad school and do like visual arts or something, or get an MFA. But I just didn't feel like racking up more debt.
Yeah.
And I think CDA, and there's a few other schools now, they're really great because you can just take courses. You don't have to, sign up for like
A program and then take all
17 credits or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
great.
it's not a degree-based school, and it's not certificate-based either. You just take the courses specifically to build your portfolio and also your skills, too. So it's like kind of no pressure. You kind of like go in getting ready to enjoy what you're going to learn. Like, I remember when I took classes there, I didn't feel like, oh, my God, I'm going to fail, because they don't really grade. They don't grade you over
No,
there.
it's just everybody's there to
Just
improve
learn. Yeah.
their skills and learn from each other, and it's a really great
It's
school.
it's very inspiring to be at that school.
That is pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
You
Pretty
took
cool.
classes as well?
Yeah. I took dynamic sketching and with Patrick Balestros, and then I took environment sketching with Ed Lee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you in the same classes, or did you take other classes?
No.
She recommended this school to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, I had gone and really worked on my portfolio because I knew I had wanted to do maybe environments or props. So I took there was a prop design class. I think there was like one environment design class, a digital painting class that I took, and then maybe a vehicle design class as well.
Cool. So you went to the CDA to kind of bulk up your portfolio. When was it that you thought, okay, my portfolio is ready to start applying for jobs in the animation industry? And when did that leap kind of happen to, okay, I went to school for architecture, but I want to work in animation, so I took these classes, and now I'm ready. So when did that kind of happen?
I don't think I ever felt like I was ready. I just knew I needed a job, so I did. I think a portfolio is kind of a work in progress thing all the time. You're constantly improving it, and so I just did a semester's worth of work and put it in my portfolio and just started shopping it around to
Nice.
lots of different studios.
What was your first job in the industry? What was the one to kind of break that bubble?
It's kind of a funny story. So I had applied for Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness, and they had already hired somebody else. But then I think they had Monsters vs. Aliens starting up.
That was another DreamWorks thing, right?
Yeah, and so somehow my portfolio had gotten passed to this guy named Frank Rocco up there, and he was the art director, and he thought that my construction skills were good enough to give me a test. And then after I got the test, or I passed the test, I was given some freelance to do.
Cool.
For a set, and then after that they hired me. So it was
On Monsters vs. Aliens.
Yeah.
Can you describe that job? Because I remember, it's not your typical background job, right?
It was a background and props combo
Okay, cool.
job. So I was doing a set every. Well, there were 2 people, so we would trade off. So 1 week I would be doing a set, and then the next week I would be doing props.
So for a CGI show, it's a little different than for a
It
2D
is.
show, right? So you're designing more like environments rather than straight backgrounds that they're going to use?
Yeah, you're doing the whole set, so you
Okay.
have to design it, and then you have to basically turn
That
each-
one room.
Yeah, the whole room. So you have to do the front, the back, the side.
Did you
Oh,
have to
wow.
do
the
the?
top plan?
Yeah. What's that called?
Overhead?
A plan?
Overhead floor plan?
No, it starts with an O.
Orthographics?
Yes.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
You?
We call them
Orthographics!
terms, but like in architecture speak, they're orthographics.
Yes.
Orthographics. How did you know that? That's pretty good.
We learned that in
Impressive.
environment
CDA.
sketching at CDA. Yeah.
Ah, it's all coming full circle.
I
Yeah.
think that's what it's called in Maya as well when you look at it.
Yeah.
Orthographics.
That too. Yes. Yes.
Very cool. So you started, your first job was Monsters vs. Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty, did you like the job a lot? Was it something that was really did you find it helpful, beneficial? Did you learn on the job?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was it was really crazy to get thrown into a CG job first because it's a lot of work
Yeah.
and the production schedule is very tight. So I was convinced I was gonna get fired like every week. I was just like, oh my god, they're gonna fire me this week. But I learned so much.
And how long were you with them for?
Like a year and a half,
Oh,
I
wow.
think, and then I think they ended up getting canceled.
Oh.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then, oh no, go ahead.
No, go, whatever you want.
And then after that, you went on to
Uncle Grandpa.
Uncle Grandpa.
Ah, oh, is that where all you guys met? Because you guys both worked on it.
Yeah, I knew Sabrina beforehand,
Okay,
But
cool.
that's where I met Sabrina.
and then I came and visited, and I met her.
He worked on a project with Uncle Grandpa. It was like a freelance side project and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah,
But you two met at Uncle
but
Grandpa.
we met Uncle. Yeah,
What were you doing on Uncle Grandpa?
I was
Sabrina?
a digital production assistant.
Ah, cool.
And then
Nice.
her and then Corey, they were both background designers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they were like you guys were like the only female artists at the time. And then so I made friends with you guys right away.
Girls gotta stick together. That's pretty cool. So that was your second job in the industry, Uncle Grandpa, huh?
Yeah, and I was on that for 3 years.
Oh, 3
Wow.
years.
Yeah, 'cause
Whoa.
we had
Steady
so
paycheck.
many
Wow.
seasons.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
It was
Oh,
a great
nice.
production to work on. Too.
Yeah, for sure. That's really cool. So wait, after Uncle Grandpa, that's when you went to
Samurai Jack.
Aha.
Ooh.
Dun
Samurai
dun dun
Jack.
dun.
Samurai Jack people.
Yeah.
Fucking cool. Nice. So out of those 3 shows, because after that show is the show you're working on now, and we can't
Yeah.
talk about that, right?
Yeah,
It's a secret.
unannounced.
It's a secret. So out of those 3
TBA.
shows, out of Monsters vs. Aliens, Uncle Grandpa, Samurai Jack, the 3 shows that you've worked on, which one was the most helpful, or which one did you like the most?
Well, I have to say I liked Samurai Jack the most.
Oh, yeah?
Because it was just so great.
Were you a
working on
fan?
it.
Were you a fan of Samurai Jack before?
Yeah.
Those backgrounds are stunning.
Yeah, like, I
Oh
just
my
thought
God,
it was
so
so beautiful, and just to have the opportunity to work on it was.
Who's the art
fantastic.
director there? Is it Scott
Scott
Wills, right?
Mhm.
Dude, he's amazing.
He's amazing
So
and
good.
really nice dude.
Oh, really?
Super nice guy.
That's awesome.
I actually have a really a question for that. For the backgrounds for Samurai Jack, I feel like it's a lot of almost After Effects or compositing with the backgrounds. Do you have to separate your backgrounds and layers?
For me, I usually do foreground, midground, background, and then when Scott takes over, he basically just paints them like that.
Oh.
But I don't know about when it gets into post how that works. But
There's a lot of parallaxing going on in that show.
mhm.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Nice, man.
So how was it jumping from show to show? Was there any period in between where you had to wait and look for a job or something, or was there any struggle in between each show?
Yeah, a little bit. So after Monsters vs. Aliens, that was the first one that got canceled, and I had never been in that situation before, and I was scrambling for a month. And I think the hardest part is just contacting everybody, trying to figure out what's open, what's available, and then basically testing. But I was lucky because I didn't have to test for Uncle Grandpa. They just gave me some freelance and thought that it was good enough, and so they hired me.
Nice.
So it only took me a month, maybe a month and a half.
Pretty cool.
Who got you the freelance gig on that show?
I want to say the recruiter at Cartoon Network.
Brooke
at the
Kiesling?
time.
Was it her?
Redhead?
I don't remember, honestly. I can't remember. But
Okay.
I feel like somehow I had gotten into contact with Bill Flores. And
Oh.
then, yeah, somebody, my friend Honore might have recommended me.
Okay.
Because he was working on regular show at the time.
Aha.
Oh, I think I remember that person.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
That's really
Okay.
cool. So I want to.
Recommendations go a long way.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And that was like connections through the networking that you made
At
Nickelodeon. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So I wanted to backtrack just for a quick second, and I know when you said when you came out here, you said there was like a 8-month period where you were not employed, so you were just you're going to CDA, building up your portfolio. Was there any time during that 8th-month period that you were like doubting yourself? And do you have any advice for people that are in that same scenario when they're out here, they're struggling, they can't find a job? Anything that you any epiphanies you had that you could give to other people that are in that same kind of situation?
Yes. The short answer is yes. Because I had thought, I would get a job in 3 months, and 3 months went by, and I was like, oh, shit. This is not going to be that easy. Well, everybody has self-doubt. I think that's normal.
Sure.
The best thing that you can do, at least for me, I can't say for other people, but for me, it was like to trust that your work is good, and trust that if you keep putting in good work out there, that somebody will recognize it, and that eventually things will work out okay for you. That was what helped me, at least.
So keep doing it.
Yeah, keep doing it. No matter how down or bad you feel about it, a lot of times you look at Instagram and everybody's posting great art and you feel terrible. Just know that if you're making improvements, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
If you're you don't need to worry about everybody else. Just work on your stuff, and if you're making improvements, I think a lot of times people see improvement and they think that that's somebody who will be
Willing to grow.
Yeah, willing to grow and
Yeah.
easier to teach, and not willing to have a huge ego or something.
Yeah,
like
for
that.
sure. I've ran into people like that before, where they think their stuff is so good, when someone gives them criticism or advice, they kind of scoff.
Yeah.
They're like, but my thing is perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. With their nose in the air.
And then I have a question.
Yes.
During the time when you were unemployed, those 8 months, you said that you were basically shopping around with your portfolio. What things or events or people did you try to reach out to? Where did you take your portfolio to? What sources?
I think the first thing was recruiters. Trying to find recruiters for each of the different studios.
Did you just call the studios and ask for their info?
I think most of them I got either through their websites or people knew who they were.
Okay.
Friends that I knew, they were like, hey, you need to contact this person.
Were the friends at Concept Design Academy mostly?
Yeah.
Okay.
The second thing is to just apply to everything online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Each website. So I think I applied to a ton of stuff online. And then I guess third, I remember going to CTN
Ooh, yeah, CTN.
and doing that sort of thing, or just going to Comic-Con or something, and then bringing your portfolio there.
Yeah,
And
conventions
just
are important.
asking them to just take a look.
Wasn't
Yeah.
there at CTN there was a portfolio review
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Is that what you did at CTN?
I think I did that, but I think that's a little less helpful because they look at so many portfolios. Not everybody will be open to this, but if I remember bringing my iPad portfolio and then
Yeah.
going to talk to an artist about their work and then just being like, hey, would you mind taking a look at my stuff?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Usually they'll give you some pointers or
Usually they're pretty chill people.
Yeah, and most of them are fine with it. If they're not, that's okay. You just move on to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
I
sure.
kind of feel flattered, actually. I think I was asked a couple times when I had a booth over there.
Oh, cool.
And it is a little bit flattering because then they're like, I love your work. Can you see mine? So it's just a little bit of a compliment.
I think people just like being asked questions. Has anyone ever stopped you for directions on the side of the road? You'll fumble around for 5 minutes, I actually don't know.
Yeah, that makes me feel so special. Hey, do you know where this place is? Where Vaughn's is?
People just, yeah.
Oh my god, I feel
Everyone's
so special.
just
You're
so
asking
lonely.
me like I know.
It's funny.
Exactly. I had someone stop me the other day and they're like, excuse me, do you know how to get to Beverly Hills? I'm just like, I have no idea where I am right now.
Do I
I'm
look
sorry.
like I do?
So let's hang out. Let's grab a beer. Okay. Cool. So you said Samurai Jack was your favorite show you worked on, right?
Yeah.
So if you could work on, well, first of all, before I ask that question, what were some of your favorite? You said you liked Toy Story growing up. Did you have any TV shows any animated cartoon TV shows that you watched?
Oh, yeah, so many. Ghostbusters.
Nice.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ghostbusters.
Awesome. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Nice. And was it which Ghostbusters was it? The Extreme Ghostbusters? The real? I forget. There's so many
the
Ghostbusters.
original, the one with
Yeah.
the I don't know. The style is just so good. I don't
Yeah,
know which
I think I
one.
know which one you're talking
It's
about.
Like I
The
think
original
it's the
Go-
original one, but I mean I could be wrong.
Yeah.
What else? I watched like so much Nickelodeon,
Sure.
Rugrats.
Hey Arnold.
Yeah,
Doug.
I love Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes are
Ton
the
of
best.
Looney Tunes.
Nice. Cool. So, with leading from that, if you could work doing environment designs on any show that ever existed,
Oh man.
any cartoon that ever existed, which one would it be and why would you choose that? Think about
Such
it.
a hard question.
It is.
Like any property?
Yeah, any property, anything, any cartoon. Ever
That's
existed.
existing also? Like that already like the like
Oh,
does
yeah.
it have a remake or like
It can be the remake or the original. It can be any.
man, that's such a hard thing to
Okay, why don't we do something from the past and something right now that's going on right now?
Yeah, something
Well,
past.
you know, right now, actually, I would really love to design for Rick and Morty because
Oh, yeah?
their worlds, I feel
Hand to
like,
hand, people.
yeah, hand, guys.
She took a test and honestly, in my opinion, it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
For season
I tested
3.
like last year, I think, and
Man, season 4 is coming up soon enough, right?
yeah.
I totally think you can handle their backgrounds. Your stuff is so good.
But yeah, like I love that they go to different worlds
Mm-hmm.
and it's so creative, and I just feel like it'd be so much fun to design for that.
Cool. That's a
I
good
guess
answer.
like an older one, maybe like one of the old Batman series, maybe.
TAS.
Oh,
animated
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
There
I
you go.
watched a lot of that.
Those Bee Gees were moody as heck.
Yeah.
Super
Oh
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Let me think. What else? Let's do a quick recap because I like to every once
Yeah.
in a while recap what we learned about Amanda so far. Okay, is that cool? So let's see. You started off. You said you were in Wyoming and Philly. That's where you
Yes.
grew up.
Yes.
And then you loved Toy Story.
I did.
You loved watching Nickelodeon and Looney Tunes and all this stuff, but you didn't know animation could be a career.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point, you went to school for architecture. It was kind of your parents that pushed you in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But at some point, you decided you met. What was the guy's name?
Eric Canetti.
Eric Canetti was like, "No, animation, it can be a thing, and you're great at it."
Yeah.
And then you
Sounded
decided,
exactly like that.
"I'm Eric Canetti. Hi guys." That's my impression. And so you shot on just a wish and a dime. You took a one-way flight to LA, and you're like, "I'm gonna do it in 3 months." A little bit of a struggle, a little bit of a hiccup. You were tripping a little, but you made it. And your first gig was at Monsters and Aliens. You killed it. And then you were on Uncle Grandpa for 3 freaking years. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
And then Samurai Jack, and then the Mystery Project.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That is.
But I will say you made
Yeah.
it sound like it was like easy peasy, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. Like, you know, like when I just on the
Yeah.
decision to come to LA, I was going back and forth and trying
Yeah.
to decide whether it was the right thing, and
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, a lot of like fear, doubt, that kind of thing.
Oh, but how long did it take you to actually make the move? Because I know when I moved out here from East Coast as well, I'm from Jersey. I was doing I did like 2 trips out here, thinking I might move, but then I didn't move, and then it was kind of like okay, I went back, and then eventually after my 3rd trip, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna stay out here. So I like got on a bus and I came out here. So it took me a while. It took me like 3 years of like back and forth toiling before I actually decided to stay out here. How long were you kind of playing with it in your head before you made that move?
I want to say like minimum half a year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it was like somewhere between like a half year to a year probably. I can't remember exactly, but I remember just like going to bed and thinking about it and waking up and thinking about it and trying to decide, do I leave this field that I went to school for?
Yeah.
And I had a good job. I had, you know, I was pretty good at it too.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I could move up. And I just thought, like, what if this is like the biggest mistake?
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know,
Oh
ever?
man, that must have been just wow. That's
Yeah.
intense.
But then, you know, ultimately I was thinking that, you know, you only get one chance, and and you know, you try, and if it doesn't work out, I can always come back to architecture, and you know, that would be fine too.
Was
Sure. That's great.
what made you like want to actually leave architecture? Like,
Oh.
what's the work ethic or work life like
Yeah.
in comparison?
Yeah, it's
I'm sure a lot of
little
people
bit
wanna know.
different. I love architecture. I love the field of architecture. I love the designing of it, but the field is a little bit frustrating. There can be very long hours, and oftentimes what they teach you in school is like, oh, you get to design these beautiful buildings with no budget, and like, you know, like no client, you know, ever cares about anything. It's just whatever you want. And
Yeah.
like, you know, the truest form of architecture. But then in reality, you have like code to deal with clients that are very fickle, budgetary issues, and then you have coordination with like mechanical, electrical, everything, plumbing, and then on top of that you have safety issues and handicap issues and all that stuff. So it's a lot more technical and a lot more coordination than they teach in school, and it's a lot less creative than you think.
Do you work with a company, or do you work like as an independent person?
I worked for a company,
Okay.
but there are some people who, if you feel bold enough, you can start your own company, and that's pretty scary too. There's a lot of liability issues with, because ultimately, like with architecture, if you don't design something sound, you could kill somebody, and there's a huge, issue with that. So, there's a lot of liability.
So I know this is deviating a little bit from the animation thing, but I'm curious. Did you ever see any of the buildings that you designed get built?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the at the Disney Creative Campus, what is the building called? It's like on Flower and Glen Oaks. It's like a.
Well, there's a building out here in
Yeah,
LA
it's
that
in-
you designed.
It's in Glendale, and
You designed it back on the East Coast?
Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Yeah, I worked on the parking garage and the glass. I designed all the bathrooms,
Wow.
and I laid out all the what are they called? Solar panels on the garage.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
You ever go in
now-
there and
I've
like?
been there.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Did you go in there because you just wanted to see it, or did you
Yeah.
go in there because you
No.
had to go in there for some
No,
reason?
I only went because I wanted to see it. But my friend was working there at the time. But
That's
it's on
so
the Disney
cool.
campus.
That's really cool.
That's
man.
awesome.
You should design an animation studio, and then you should work at that animation studio.
Coincidentally, the company that I was working for, they designed the Pixar building.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Bringing it full
Mm-hmm.
circle back to
Yeah.
Toy Story.
So it is
In
related to
architecture, you were in
animation.
animation.
yeah.
Because I was in architecture and the clients were Disney. And
Yeah.
then I was like trying to leave architecture to get to Disney.
Yeah.
So,
That's it's almost like a sign telling you to
yeah,
do it.
I know, right?
That's pretty cool.
So I have a question. There's a lot of people that are always confused whenever I tell them that background design is a position in animation.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe your typical work day and what background design is exactly?
So background design is basically anything in the scene that the characters are not interacting with, because anything they interact with is usually a prop. So basically anything that's in the set, in the background basically. My typical day consists of usually I get a list, which is from a breakdown from a storyboard, and I'm given specific scene numbers, and then in a typical day I can do, well, if it's a 2D show, I can do maybe 4 backgrounds a day, depending on difficulty level. When it's a CG set, it might take 2 weeks because you have to turn everything depending on how complicated it is.
Do they ever give you more notes for CG as opposed to 2D? Can you redraw this, or can you
Well, I think a lot of the notes get avoided when you do good roughs. So in a typical I would say typical week, but I'll do the roughs and I'll go to my art director. Art director gives me notes, change this, change that, and then update the roughs. And then once they get the okay, I go ahead and start either cleaning them up or turning them. Yeah. So if I am given notes, they're in the rough stage, so you don't have to clean everything up and then they're like, oh, can you tweak all that stuff,
Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. I have one more cool question about the architecture thing. How did you find the transition from drawing blueprints and buildings all the time to moving into doing environment design? Was that, background design? Was that a challenging transition to make, or was it something that was almost super seamless?
I think it was more seamless than I thought it was going to be. So when you're in architecture school, you have to draw a lot of perspectives. So you just
Sure.
learn it naturally, because I was in school for 5 years, so you're drawing perspective for 5 years. And
Yeah.
it's something you just
5
kind
years,
of
wow.
foundationally understand. And I think when you're working in background design, that is a skill that you definitely need to have. And even if you're breaking the perspective, you need to understand how to do it first before you break it.
Of course, yeah. It's fundamentals.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest thing about transitioning was getting out of the world of the real and into the fantasy or the creative. Yeah, because I remember working on MVA or Monsters vs. Aliens, and I would, do a section of, maybe the recreation room, and I was starting to detail out the lamp like what was behind the lamp.
Yeah.
And I remember my art director being like, no, you just draw the shape, and we don't care about what's behind there. It's just like it could be vacuous space. It doesn't, it doesn't matter.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
These houses will never collapse in on themselves.
Like they don't. Yeah, and like just like how like things like sit. Like I would always think like, oh, how's that window jamb gonna fit into the wall? And
Yeah. But like, who cares? It
you
doesn't
can just
matter.
Crash it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Matter.
Did Bill Flores teach you a lot of this stuff?
A lot of that I learned in CG because it was like my first
Oh,
job,
okay.
and then they were like, you don't need to worry about any of this, and then that's when I was like, oh man, I could do like whatever I want,
Because I know
That's
Uncle
awesome.
Grandpa, because I did some background freelance for them. I know with that show, a lot of backgrounds were like, they didn't follow perspective completely
yeah.
too. So how was it working on that? Like where, like, did you feel like relaxed not having to worry about
It's
it? Or
actually very hard for me to go off perspective.
because you're just like, no, it must
I'm like,
be
what?
right.
Yeah.
You have to kind of
Like
unlearn.
more effort
Yeah.
for me to like draw where it has wonky perspective. Yeah.
Did
That's
the
crazy.
RV drive you mad, like with how it's like larger on the inside than it is?
No, I mean, I think at this point I'm like okay with it. I'm like
She's not
I'm
that cuckoo.
alright. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I can't
Sometimes I still
handle
catch
it.
it though. Like even on the show I'm working on right now, it's like I'll design something and then I'll be like, oh, this isn't gonna work because these things aren't gonna fit, and they'll just be like, no, it's okay, we'll just cheat it. You know, like, yeah.
That's crazy.
Sometimes I still catch myself in that mindset where I'm like being way too practical.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it can be a hindrance because you're focused too much on how things are built in real life, and sometimes you don't need to worry about that.
It's more about how it looks. Yeah.
Just the overall aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
For the,
Yeah.
To get the emotion of that scene.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool. So do you guys want to go to? I think we have a couple questions.
I think we have 2 questions and then or 3 questions, and then I actually wanted to read something that I saw when I posted this post announcing Amanda. Is it your teacher?
Yeah, he was one of my teachers in college.
How do you
His name's Bimal.
Bimal? He wrote something really sweet. He shared her post, and then he wrote, "More than 10 years back, when my advisor was on sabbatical, I had a chance to teach intro to architectural computing to one of the best cohort of students I have ever taught. In the years since, they have attained much success and have taught me much more than I have ever taught them. Here's one of them, Amanda Lee." I thought that was really sweet. I'm like, I think that's worth reading.
What's this guy's name?
Bimal
Bimal?
Balakrishnan.
Bimal Balakrishnan.
Yeah.
That was so sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bimal.
Shout out.
Thanks.
Shout out to BB. That's
So
his
he's gonna
nickname.
You
love
have a
that.
nickname now.
That's what we call him. His initials, BB. He gets that a lot. It's fine.
And then we have
That's great.
3 little toots. They
we're-
said,
yeah.
yeah, 3 little toots. That's what our fans are called. They're
Yeah,
called little
because
toots.
This is the Ass Podcast. It's a long story. Not really. It's not
I'm
that
sure
long.
she watched
I
it.
think I can bridge that gap. I got it. Got it.
One fan, the person's display name is Tiana Conyers Art.
That sounds right.
It was on the post that you posted. It's I'm guessing that's a she because this is Tiana. I know this is
Tiana.
a pretty broad question, but do you have any tips for artists who need to improve their background and architecture skills, aka perspective, tools you'd recommend, etc.? Happy face.
That's a good question. Like specific
Sorry,
tools.
so the question is
Any, like-
how to improve
Do you have any
it?
tips for artists who need to improve their background and architecture skills? Also, or for example, like perspective tools you would recommend,
Okay.
etc.
Any secret techniques?
Well, there's no secret. It's just practice.
Oh, yeah, right?
Lots and lots of practice. There's a lot of like good resources on like YouTube, or like I think there's books that you can like learn perspective. But perspective is definitely number one. You need to learn that, and you need to practice it a lot. I think another thing that can help is if you can 3D model. Even if you don't plan on 3D modeling, it helps to understand how things change when you move the camera or the viewpoint up and down. So when you're above or below, and then you can like download SketchUp for free and just mess around. That's
SketchUp.
helpful. Yeah. The other thing I would say is for architecture, study from life. From reference, and instead of just like looking at the building and being like, oh, this is a beautiful building, like really study how are the pieces fitting together? You know, is there a foundation? How is that, like, the proportion of that foundation to the rest of the building? You know, or if it's like something that's like old, like how does it age or crack? You know what I mean? Like studying from life is really important because that will bring the believability to your designs. And even if it's like something that's, you know, it could be something like that's medieval, but you could apply that to, you know, a design for something entirely different.
That's pretty cool.
Do you have any like books or something you would like to recommend to people about perspective or?
I'm sure there's like a billion out there.
There
I don't
was like
have
not
any that
okay.
I can think of.
Go read all billion of them.
I think there might be one that I remember from architecture school. I want to say it's like David Chang, but I will look it up and you can put it in the comments.
Okay.
Or the description. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
I think YouTube is a very good source though if
Yeah.
you really want to like watch YouTube tutorials.
And
Those
the
are
great thing about perspective is that it's the same. Like
you
no
have
matter what
there's like
resource you're going
3
to, it's the
basic
same.
perspectives, right? It's first, second, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
And the other thing I want to mention is that there's a big thing in architecture where they learn a measured perspective, so it's very technical. I think that might be, while important to learn, you don't necessarily need that for animation. You just need to really understand scale and like just the basics of perspective and how like a figure fits inside
Yeah, that's
that
important.
space.
Because the characters need to
size of-
stand.
Yeah, you
in
always
that
have to
background.
design for the character.
Very important.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question before we get to the next one? I have
Yes.
one more question. I know coming from like an architecture background, you probably, you know, drawing, I guess, buildings and whatnot is a lot easier for you. But do you have any specific environments that you like drawing more than others? Like, let's say, I don't know, Uncle
That's a good
Grandpa went
question.
to like a swamp or maybe like a forest. or
Organic versus
mountain,
very,
you know,
yeah.
anything like that you like drawing more than buildings, or is that like your forte? I love doing buildings; they're the best.
I do love doing buildings because you can have a lot of life in buildings, but I really love doing like alien landscapes or like wastelands or
Nice.
like organic, crazy, you know, like just made
Jungles
up.
and
Yeah,
stuff,
like,
yeah.
like those are really fun to do because it's just so organic and you can be really creative with your shapes too. You know,
Very cool.
buildings they have to read as buildings sometimes.
Nice.
Is perspective different handling organic backgrounds? Like, is it a little trickier? Or is
It can be because things turn more, but ultimately, I think for perspective, at least for me, when I deal with perspective, I always break things down. Like, if anybody has a really hard time with perspective, it really helps to break things down. Like, really break it down into, like draw your grid, you know, figure out how they're placed on the grid. And then even if it's an organic shape, you can break the organic shape down into its basic forms and then place them and then like, you know, make it organic. So
I guess
anytime-
you can kind of turn like organic shapes into
Right.
somewhat like cubicle shapes at first if you're blocking it out,
and,
right?
like for me, I really like to think about it in 3D and think about like, okay, this is a really difficult shape, but how, you know, does it fit in 3D?
yeah,
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
that's awesome.
That's really helpful, actually.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys are take notes if you're listening.
Yeah,
Good
that's
stuff.
Yeah.
very good.
Cool.
Okay, and then the next person was my mom. D. Douglas Matty. She asked, can you ask her if the industry that she is in is what she expected it to be for her life career, or is she kind of disappointed that it's not what she expected?
Oh no.
Oh,
She
that would
just-
be so sad. After this whole podcast, guys.
I know, right?
All right, we're gonna end letting you know that it
Actually thinking
sucks.
of buying a one-way ticket.
You
away.
seem very, I mean,
Yeah.
you seem very happy, in my
Yeah.
opinion, to be in this
No,
field.
I'm really happy, especially after being in architecture. I love being in that field, but it just wasn't for me. Like, it didn't fit what I wanted in my life. And so coming into animation, it was great because you have the creative freedom to do what you do. And for me, I didn't like the technical parts where you made sure everything worked and fit everything together. And you don't have to do that in animation. You know, you get to just be really free and creative. And
You also seem very like, I mean, you can definitely be in a corporate setting, but I see you fitting more amongst the animation crowd versus the corporate setting.
Yeah, I love that this field is so relaxed and chill, and you really there's no judgment.
Yeah,
really.
you could be yourself.
Yeah, nobody cares. You don't have to show up in a tie, but you can if you want.
want
Yeah,
to,
you
you
can
can.
if you want.
Right.
I do that sometimes.
Yeah, all the time, actually. Okay, and then the last
love it.
question is from Patty McPancakes.
Hi, Patty.
Hi, Patty.
Okay.
I love this girl. I know I have to ask Amanda Lee if she can still dance like a boss. Winky face.
Oh, man. Yes, I still love dancing. I just don't go as often because I'm
Amanda's
old.
also a dancer.
Are you a dancer?
She loves to
I
dance.
do. I love dancing.
Yeah.
Cool. What kind of dance? Just like going to clubs or what?
Yeah, I've gone to clubs. I've done I've done some classes around LA.
Hip hop.
And hip hop, and I did like a little Bollywood for a
Whoa,
while.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. And then I used to rave a lot. I don't do it.
I remember those days. 'Cause,
Yeah.
you used to tell me, and then you used to introduce me to a lot of like good music and stuff.
Yeah.
And then
was
I
very
remember-
big into the EDM scene for a while.
Yeah, and then I remember there was a day at work on Uncle Grandpa where you were teaching. I think you were teaching the board artists. Like I think David Gemmell was one of them. Like some moves, and then they were trying
No,
to do.
it was Andy. I was trying.
Was it Andy?
He was like, "Oh, I don't know how to dance. I need you to teach me how to dance." And I was
I
like,
could swear that
trying
David
to,
Gemmell was also
Well,
lingering
he was
around.
probably hanging out too. Yeah,
Oh,
He
okay.
was definitely because David knows how to dance. He won't admit it, but he knows how to dance.
Oh, okay.
I can see it.
I can
I can
sense
see it.
I can smell
sense
it.
in him. Yeah. So, but yeah, and he was like, I was like trying to teach him how to like move his hips and follow a beat and shuffle.
That's so fun. I think I remember that day. I was like, oh, geez, she's busting out with her skills. Oh, God. Oh, then also I wanted to mention, as far as like networking goes, for like a lot of you, I don't know if you actually know Amanda personally, but what I noticed about Amanda when I worked with her, her personality went a long way. Like I remember the day she started, she made friends with everybody, and
you didn't.
yeah, you did. You were super friendly, and like I noticed like. You know, being from, I was a PA. I saw what was going on. Like I had to walk around and move
She was
out of my
stalking you.
cubicle. I had to actually walk around. Unlike some artists, they're like stay in their cubicle all day long. You know, you never know. But I saw like the connections that you made, and like people genuinely loved coming to the floor and like actually coming over to talk to you. Like I know even like the operations people, they loved coming over and talking to you all the time.
Yeah.
So that goes a long way. If you're really friendly with people and you break down your walls and come out of your shell, just be yourself and just shine, or and that goes so because people want to work with you and they want that smile around the office, because it like makes everybody's day, lights everything up, and
I
then,
think it just makes you like easy to work with too, which is
Yes.
That's very
goes
important.
a long way in this industry.
Yes.
As well.
It definitely does.
Having to work with a grumpy person is not
Yeah.
fun.
Like nobody wants to.
I miss all of your post-its that you used to draw, and then like, you used to
We
throw
would
them
crumple
at
them
me.
and then throw them at each other.
Yeah, and then eventually we just like lined the outside of our cubicles with all the post-its and stuff, and it would just come out of nowhere. I'd be working and all of a sudden, what the hell was
We
that?
had cubicles that were like high enough that you could just throw over.
Yeah.
No
Good old
passing notes
days.
in class, Sabrina.
Sorry. These were
Nice.
important notes.
Very cool.
Yes.
Do we have any other questions?
That's the last of our questions.
Cool.
Yes.
Nice.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Thanks, Mrs. Matty.
Thanks, Patty. Thanks, Tiana.
Yeah.
Tiana. And
Thanks, BB.
yeah, and BB, my man, BB.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So before we like wrap things up completely, do you have any like last minute advice for anyone out there? They're like you, maybe they didn't go to art school, or maybe they're thinking about going into background design or anything at all. Do you have any last minute words of wisdom for these people out there struggling and trying to make it?
I think just to keep working, just always be working, always be producing, because that's the only way that you're gonna get better. And even if you feel doubt, just keep working. Like as long as you're producing, you will definitely be improving. I think study a lot from reference and from life. I think that's like especially for background design, you really need to do that. And then like constructing things that are grounded. So I don't think we talked too much about this, but like drawing through, like if you're gonna draw a cube, draw through, and so you can see all of it and placing it on something. I think in most of the, specifically for background design, most of the jobs that I've gone to, they always want somebody who can build constructible real designs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they look at things like Fairly Odd Parents or something that has like a simpler design, they think it's just really graphic and simple, but there's a lot of like design that goes behind that too. And like I think a lot of people get confused because they think, oh, like I just have to like make it look busy or interesting, but really you have to really design these things, and they have to be grounded and built and constructed.
So regardless how fantastical these elements are, most of the time they have to be grounded in reality.
Yeah, well, or not that they're grounded in reality. What I mean by grounded is that they have to be constructed.
Yeah.
Like if you draw something that's cylindrical, you have to remember that it's cylindrical in shape. So when it sits on something that's flat, it can't be like, for example, if it's a column that goes into something like a beam, the column can't be bigger than the beam because the edges will stick out. Does that make sense?
It has to actually function.
Yeah,
like it has to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when you can't just fake it by just drawing like a curve on the bottom.
Unless you're
and then
drawing
it
like an
fits.
MC Escher painting. Or
Yeah,
something.
like that's one of the things that I talk about. Like I think that's really important for a background designer. I see a lot of portfolios and background designers who just don't do that, and it's very hard for me to be like, oh, you'll make it in this industry, because you have to draw through and you have to construct. So that's another thing, I think.
That is great advice for all the aspiring background designers out there. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything else to question or add or anything before you wrap this up?
I have one more question.
Ooh, yeah.
When you're, I don't know, like when you're drawing things that you're designing yourself, so not necessarily from real life. I guess let me try to formulate my question the right way. Like what do you look for creatively? Like what do you think at the top of your head? Like, so say for example, if you want to design a room, like what are the things that you think of or something when you design this room or something for your portfolio? Or like if you design like a house setting outside, you want to show that you can like draw a neighborhood. Like how do you start that? You know what I mean? Like where would you start? Like do you look at reference? Or do you like think of a story first?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, what helps the most is I think of like a character.
Okay.
Right? Because usually backgrounds have to be designed for a character. So I think of a character, whether it be from television or movies or books or whatever, and you try to design for that character. So what are the needs of that character? How would they interact with the space? That sort of thing. And then I populate the world around that. So, if it's like a mouse, something really small, how do they get up or down? And then the reverse, like if it's for a giant or something, like stuff like that.
Okay.
And then a story also really helps. If you can attach a story to that character. I think the more information you have about your character, the better your design will be for the background, because it's informed by the character.
Okay.
And then also, if you know about your character, then you can look up reference, and reference is always helpful.
Okay.
That's actually really, really good advice.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. I never even thought of it like
Coming
that.
from an artist that has tried, like,
Yeah,
out of the
great.
blue, been like, oh, I want to draw
It's so hard to just be like, oh, I'm going to design a cafe. Well, what kind of cafe are you designing? Who is it for?
Yeah.
How is the person or character going to interact with it?
Yeah.
How is it going to be staged? I think those are really important things you need to ask.
That is pretty cool, yeah. Cafe
That
for,
helped me.
Yeah.
I'm glad I helped one person.
Didn't help me at all. I'm joking. Cool. Nice.
Yeah, also, I just want to mention, just keep working and just don't give up, because no matter how many people say you can't do it, if you
Haters
believe
gonna
in
hate.
yourself, you can do it.
Draw.
Cliche, but
Yeah.
it happened for me.
For sure.
Practice,
No,
practice,
you really
practice.
are.
Practice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really are an inspiring story, because you didn't go to school for animation. You went for school for architecture, and you still, you had this passion and this drive to work in the industry, and you made it work because you put in the time and you put in the effort, and you had the talent, and you kind of
Yeah, I
put
cannot
yourself where
stress
you want it
work
to be.
very hard.
Work hard, keep
Draw
going,
all the
don't
time.
give up, and don't be scared that there's people better
and
than
then
you.
also stay humble. That's very important. Stay humble.
That's a good way to end it. Yeah,
Yeah.
stay humble.
Yeah.
Don't get
Be
up in your ass,
confident, but be
people.
humble.
Yes.
Were you-
Fake it till you make it, but still be
Tell
humble.
yourself in the mirror that you're awesome, but just don't tell anybody
Yeah.
else. Just keep that to yourself. Be like, you're amazing, you're amazing. All right, I will not say this outside of my bathroom.
And I have more to learn, and I can always learn more.
Yes.
Yeah. Always be willing to learn more for sure. That's awesome. Well, cool. I think we're kind of wrapping things up here. We're just hitting the hour mark now. So, anybody last minute things? Nick, Sabrina?
There's no Brian words of wisdom.
No Brian.
But
words
we
of
miss
wisdom
you.
today.
Aw,
Well,
I'm sorry you weren't here.
Amanda gave us really good words of wisdom. I think we should do it. We should call Amanda at the end of every podcast.
I feel like Amanda words of
Amanda's
wisdom.
words of wisdom.
They're gonna be get more and more harsh with you.
Yeah.
You're like Tiger Mom in it. So you're like, you're shit. You gotta work harder.
You call that art?
Yeah.
She
C
just-
minus.
Oh, God.
people are going to be sending stuff. She's going to be ripping it up on air. This is garbage.
You call this fan art?
Yeah.
Fan art.
Well, thank you everybody for listening or watching. Is there anything we're going to be linking in the below in the comments and whatnot?
Yes, her website's amandaleeart.com, and then her Instagram is at amandaleeart.
Awesome.
Very simple. Keep
Very-
it simple, guys.
Keep it short
No,
and simple.
no underscore 3355872. You know,
You just keep saying letters. It's fine. We
Instagram
have
is the new
time.
big thing
Yeah.
to find artists on now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Instagram's huge. Social media is big for sure. So post your art there if you want people to notice it.
send us fan art.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to insert that really aggressively. Send us fan art.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, guys. I had a great time. I'm sure everyone had a great time. Let's say thank you again to Amanda Lee for joining us. She was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Like
Thank you.
us, follow us,
Like, subscribe,
share,
share.
subscribe us. I don't know all those fancy buzzwords. I
Or
don't know what
not.
they are.
Just kidding.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Take it easy. We'll see you next time in the ass.
Bye.